On today's episode 31 of Digimon Ghost Game really gets unnecessarily annoyed at Angoramon for being possessed unwillingly, and he apologised for it. The episode is basically the hash slinging and Zubimon comes in at the end and fixes the problem and straight up leaves. I actually did a video on this, predicting it.
My genius is... it's almost frightening.
And to be expected, nobody was really interested in that either. And at the end of the episode, almost as a previous episode's retribution, we get a letter back from Hiro's father. Hiro asks his father, "What do we do about difficult Digimon?" His father says, "I don't know." And that's it. I really like Digimon Ghost Game. I do enjoy it a lot, because I love horror, I love the Easter eggs, I love the mystery, I love the characters. Well, really not so much, but I love it so much that it's so frustrating, where we have episodes where the entire enjoyment of the episode and its purpose and being in the story comes down to its ending, sending a letter to Hiro's father, for it to then, weeks later, amount to absolutely nothing.
Got him! Got him!
And you take a Legend Arms Digimon, which has not had an anime appearance, extremely significant for what it represents as the franchise's anniversary, and it's just some kind of petty rivalry with a random champion level Digimon from a digital world. Head empty, no comment. Let's talk about what you actually want to talk about. Where is Ghost-Gamon? The last time we saw Ghost-Gamon was episode 21, and he said, "Now is not the time. My brother in Christ, when is the time?" We're 10 weeks on from that episode. We actually got Kano Weissmon, which you weren't expecting at all, before the Ghost-Gamon situation was resolved. What is really going on with Ghost Game? It feels like every time we get somewhat close to the core of the Ghost Game world, the thing that makes all the episodic adventures with different Digimon and engaging with these amazing creatures, the little core at the very bottom, buried deep within, makes it all worth it in the end. It makes us want to care about the show, and it's not just the Good Samaritan's Digimon show, but that thing that's supposed to anchor you deep into the show to really be invested in the characters and how they will grow. We just don't know. If the point in Ghost Game is befriending different troubled Digimon in order to recruit them to help them protect the harmony between Digimon and humans in the real world, watching different Digimon from weeks gone by, like Repamon in today's episode is a good example of that, helps in the episode. I wish we had more of that, because it shows that the episodic recruiting and befriending of these random Digimon was actually worthwhile in the end. But it would still be nice to know whereabouts the show is going to go, with Ghost-Gamon, with whatever big bad's going to be at the end of the show, because it could be anything at this point. We've literally got no idea. Even controversially, Digimon Adventure 2020, I loved that show, still do massively. I'm aware of its flaws, and I'm totally aware that a lot of people do not like it, but I think it's not even a debate. As much as people didn't like Adventure 2020, it definitely had a beginning and an end and a process in between. The show started with Omegamon, right? That was a big surprise to everybody. So Ghost Game, in a very similar fashion, starts with Ghost-Gamon. Only the difference is, every time Omegamon appeared, it teased some greater threat at the end of the tunnel. With Ghost-Gamon, it seems as though he is the greater threat, but also not the greater threat. And it's not clear what side of the threshold he's going to land on. We theorise that if we befriend Ghost-Gamon, we get Kano Weissmon. But we've got Kano Weissmon, and Ghost-Gamon isn't befriended. You can have episodic, even in the most controversial of shows like 2020, and still have a skeleton. You can have a skeleton of a plot somewhere. In Ghost Game, it's just, as we've discussed many months before, the plot is probably Gamamon. There's a lot of mystery around Gamamon, Ghost-Gamon, what Piccolomon saw in the future, what makes Gamamon so great. Okamon didn't even know what Gamamon even was until meeting him. So okay, the plot is there, but I don't think Gamamon is the whole plot. He's just the subject of what's going to happen in the plot. He's not the plot itself, but he's the central point of it. What surrounds Gamamon as the subject of the plot, we don't know. It's like fluff. Having an episodic Digimon anime should not be a reason to also lose interest in that anime, because as bad as 2020 was, it wasn't. Even people who didn't like it were still interested as to how the show was going to end. And I really don't want people to drop off Ghost Game, because I think it could end really well. I just know it's gonna be one of those videos where, like, I'll put my thoughts and feelings out there on the show, that I like. Next week we'll get some kind of story related thing with Ghost maybe, and then people will come back like, this aged like milk. Yes, that's what retroactive viewing does. It makes older videos less relevant as time goes by. You know, we want to believe that Ghost is somehow plotting something behind the scenes, behind the eyes of Gammon, and we just don't know what it is yet. But eventually when it comes to the surface, was there any way to have expected what was going to happen? The things that Ghost actually wants? Was there any way of knowing? No, not really. And it's even more frustrating when we're wasting time with Blacktailmon Uber, sending letters to Hero's father, weeks later getting that letter back, and he says, I don't know. It just feels like a kick in the teeth. I mean, come on. Ghost Game has the makings of greatness. Like, does it not frustrate any of you? Like, I personally don't really see the point in reviewing every Ghost Game episode like this one, but I think until Digimon Ghost Game really changes gear into a different format, it's really going to struggle grasping and keeping the attention of a lot of Digimon fans. Many of you may be screaming at the screen right now to saying, just enjoy Ghost Game for what it is, don't think too much about it. But that's the thing, people do really like Ghost Game for what it is. People enjoy a lot about Ghost Game, but it's just missing that real key component that would take it just to the next level. I don't even know what to say about it. It's just kind of like, it's just really exhausting week on week. You take these really high potential Digimon like Zubamon, which could have had a really major story role because we're going to get Ryudamon at some point, and to kind of pick them up and drop them off and then take a thing from weeks ago and just drop it again. Where on earth is Gammon? And honestly, I know I'm gonna get dogged out for making this video because it seems that when anybody criticizes anything remotely new about Digimon, it's just, this person is a hater, super negative person, blah de blah de blah. But I personally think Digimon is a lot better than what we're getting right now. Over and above everything I've said in this video, the one thing that keeps coming back to my mind every week from watching Ghost Game, even with great episodes like Detismon's debut, some of the episodes after episode 21 were fantastic, I just keep asking myself, so what? Zubamon appears, Blacktailmon Uber returns a letter, says nothing, so what? Betsumon appears next week, copies Gammon gets abandoned. So what? The episodic stuff is made worthwhile when you ask yourself, so what? If we had that tiny bit of context, it would make it all worthwhile. But we just don't know. Is Gammon going to stay a major problem in the show when Digimon around them are evolving to the perfect, and maybe even, we might even get to the mega level yet, before we see Gammon do anything, at least at the speed that Ghost Game's going? I want to know if any of my words resonate with anyone in the comments whatsoever. I know people are going to disagree, and I know people like Ghost Game for what it is, but ultimately, you have to ask yourself, so what? Listen, no one wants to drag Digimon ever. You know, even the Digino was not happy with this episode, which should definitely tell you something, because Digino is the most easygoing guy ever. But a lot of the times, me, Digino, and Khan, when we talk about Ghost Game together, we kind of come to the same conclusions every week, and it's not really an accident. We're not coercing each other or convincing each other to have problems with a show we all like. They're just kind of self-evident as 31 episodes go by, and nobody knows what Ghost Game's about yet. If you made it this far and actually listened, I really appreciate it. We don't all have to agree with each other, but I just wanted to put these thoughts out there. Just my thoughts. I don't speak for everybody. These are just my thoughts, okay? Nobody else's. It's just dragging its heels a bit. Thanks for your time, but most importantly, take care.